Hey friends, welcome. I'm Angera, and we're talking about the Financial District Taskmaster Drone Challenge. If you want tips and tricks, feel free to skip ahead to where I go in depth a bit more about how I completed this run, but first, let's jump straight into the clip.
Gotta follow that drone. Hands down. Got one. Now's my chance to grab the drone. Bam! How you like me now?
And there you have it. Alright, so this challenge isn't easy. It seems to be generally considered the most difficult of the Taskmaster Drone challenges, and that's completely fair. So let's talk a little bit more in detail about this challenge and some of what worked and what didn't work to make it happen at the gold or ultimate level. Before you start, I recommend getting 2 skill upgrades to help with traversal. One is Quick Zip, which lets you web zip a second time without losing altitude, and the other is Point Launch Boost, which gives you a much stronger point launch after doing a zip to point. Also, be aware that your swing speed increases as you level up in this game, so if the drone challenges are feeling a little bit too difficult right now, you might be able to take some time and level up before jumping back in and finishing. Another thing you might want is the Blitz Suit power. I don't use it in this clip, but I have used it for other runs, and it can help with one obstacle in particular, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Now, I've actually done some more faster runs in this challenge, but I like this one in particular because at this point it feels pretty attainable and easier to keep consistent. Some of my other runs felt a little temperamental, so we're going to talk about this.
Gotta follow that drone.
So to start out, notice I went straight over the smaller building right here. I don't know for sure if it shaved off any real time. I think it did. I hope it did. But it did work for me to catapult myself over it and makes a more direct connection with the first orb. These orbs, obviously, by the way, paramount. The timing on this challenge is tight enough that if you miss a single one, I would really be considering just restarting the challenge. Something I do here that you'll see throughout this run is the zip to point move. This is one of the most important moves you have for these challenges. People mention it because it's really helpful, but I don't often hear people talk about how you can hold L2 to give yourself a little bit more time to aim, which can be immensely helpful. It slows down time, giving you a moment to think, and the timer slows down as well, and we'll use it to help a lot with a dive later on in the run. So after doing that point launch, notice I don't start swinging right away here. When I did, I would end up elevating myself too high and I'd smack right into this bridge, or I'd have to slow myself down to descend to the next point. Instead, it worked best if I web zipped pretty close to street level to carry myself under the bridge. Something I wanted to do here was a quick dive using L3 before swinging to gain altitude for the next orb. It didn't quite work out as planned. Just try to get some elevation as quickly as you can so that you can zip to point at the next orb. Okay, so after this point launch, I go straight to swinging. When I swung here, when I used the swing here, it would connect to this building on the right, and it would carry me much farther. When I used my web zips first, I would run out of momentum before getting to a place where I could easily swing again, and I often ended up hitting this building right here, which slowed me down. So my most successful strategy here was swinging and then web zipping twice. Note, though, if you could get a really strong point launch from where we are right now, you could actually web zip once or twice and be able to then zip to point on the building that I would otherwise smack into. So that can also be a useful strategy. It's not what I did here, but I did use that in some other faster runs. The important thing is that you can't rely on a swing later on. Again, zip to point into a point launch. Try to have in mind where the next orb is. You don't need to follow the trail precisely. As soon as you can start aiming for the next orb, do it. In this case, it's over here on top of the police station. Zip to point into point launch again. This is a great example of going for the next orb instead of following the trail. The next orb is against the building over here. At this point, I recommend doing what you can to avoid touching the building while still getting the orb. Running is pretty much always slower than swinging, so try not to let your momentum drop. I also use the building right here to recenter myself with a zip to point and point launch instead of trying to regain control through swinging. I felt really off balance from swinging by the building to the right while simultaneously pulling away from it. So using a zip to point helped me kind of get on track again. Okay, so this was a really frustrating moment for me. Because I didn't nail the timing on the point launch, I missed out on the boost from it, and I ended up lower than I wanted to be. I probably should have used a swing and then web zips, but instead I used the web zips and did a swing after, putting me too high, so I had to slow in midair and drop into the orb. You'll see it in a second. I lost some time. It was really disappointing. It's not the end of the world, but you should do what you can to try to keep that momentum moving forward. See that loss of speed? Don't do that. After catching the orb, a couple of web zips helped get me on my way again.
Got one.
Again, simple zip to point and point launch. Be aware that there aren't really any nearby points to swing from between here and the church steeple right there, so notice that I spread my web zips out. If you use them too close together, you run the risk of losing momentum and ending up too low to efficiently catch the orb up top. Another thing you can do right here, if you need to make up some momentum to be able to get to the church steeple out there, is actually web zip to this point here. Doing that will allow you to do a point launch boost that gets you easily to the church steeple. Okay, so yet another zip to point and point launch. Important here. Spam X while you run up this building. I've watched people attempt this challenge without just constantly doing vertical wall jumps here, and it's a wasted opportunity. I actually did a whole video where I broke down just how important it is to spam X in situations exactly like this. The link is in the description, and it should be on the card. Take a look, it makes a difference. This is, by the way, also the moment that the Blitz suit power can come in handy. It increases your running speed. I'm not certain how it affects vertical wall jump, or if it even affects it at all, but it's worth mentioning. Just be careful of the ledge right here. If you attempt a vertical wall jump at the wrong moment there, it can catapult you into the building, slowing you down. At all other times, though, vertical wall jump is key. Up and over this building. Alright, this is a tough moment. I definitely missed the orb on the dive here in other runs. To help get my aim right, I held L2 again to slow time and allow me to make more adjustments. Dive here and aim. I found that way easier to do than trying to do it at full speed. I did get used to that eventually, but for this run, this was the easiest way to do it. Try to dive early, too. It's not hard to overshoot this orb, and I almost do it in this run, actually, and that's 1,000 points lost if you do. See how we're almost moving right over the orb here? This was a little bit of a scary moment. While heading to this final orb, aim short of it right here, then let your swing carry you through. On this swing, I don't recommend jumping. Jumping tends to elevate you, and you don't need altitude right now. Here, I just released the swing, which threw me out far enough to get to the end. I also recommend diving here as soon as you can aim straight at the ending circle right there. Also, don't be afraid to start spamming triangle. Once you're in range, triangle can zip you straight to the drone, completing the challenge.
Now's my chance to grab the drone. Bam! How you like me now?
And there you have it. That's my step-by-step method for getting the gold ultimate rating on Taskmaster's Financial District Drone Challenge. So what do you think? Drop a comment and let me know, what would you do differently to finish this challenge? What did you do differently? What didn't work? What did work? Tell me all the things. I want to hear about it in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more content, I stream regularly at twitch.tv/Enjolras, and be sure to click all the things if you found this video helpful or entertaining. It helps me out a lot. While the video plays out, I'll leave you with this clip of one of those faster runs I mentioned earlier. It felt a little unstable at the time, so please, take what you can from it and enjoy. Thanks again, stay safe, and we hope to see you next time.
show's over. And I look good doing it.